little bit early. Oh my god, I feel like I'm sinking in this freaking... It's like the first time I'm sitting in the middle. I'm sitting in the middle.
That's the first time you're sitting in the middle.
Two beautiful people in my life. And we were talking about my eyeball. And how I pop blood vessels in my right eye, and it's crazy. Is it my right or left? I don't even know.
You're right.
It's my right eye.
Yeah.
So
But he had no
it's
idea.
insane. And she says that we have boobs, and we said no, we have chesticles. It was actually chesty this morning. So I'm out here rocking my Taco Tuesday shirt. If anybody can read that out in YouTube land, don't judge me.
I'm into fitness.
I'm about to fit
Ew.
fitness taco in my mouth. Pause.
You might want to mute that section because
I didn't realize. I wouldn't have said it. I'm sorry.
Y'all playing me. Y'all playing me. But we love you. And you guys are beautiful for joining the show. This was literally a last minute ditch of doing a 3-person panel because the original person bailed on me, and this beautiful sister in Christ of mine said, "You know what? I'll do it." That's not exactly how the text the text dialogue went, but she was just like, "Okay, when is it?" And I go, "Tonight." She's like, LOL. Fine, I'll go.
Wow, way to give us.
She was so dry about it too. She was like, "Send me the Addy."
Whatever.
I'm
always here to help.
I'll do it post.
Oh, you can't undo that in post. That's way too.
No, I can.
Oh, that's fine.
So how was everyone's weekend?
I forgot what I did.
You forgot it actually
What day
rained
is
a
it?
lot.
Oh.
It rained. Saturday was gross.
I stayed
I had a great weekend.
You stayed inside
We
most
stayed
of the day?
outside most of the time because we were just
I
so
had a
exhausted.
football tourney.
I saw that on your Insta story. I was reacting to it, giving you hearts and stuff.
Yeah.
So who won? Did you win?
How far did you go?
Not very far. Thanks for asking.
Not for real? Like eliminated first round?
Like second round?
Okay, that's far.
Okay, that's
Not
better.
far. We are way better.
How many?
My team is so good. So.
But how many rounds is it though?
I mean, it was like probably 4.
So you have halfway, and then boom,
Oh yeah.
knocked you out.
Yeah.
Okay, but you guys are better than that, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
My team is very, very good, but we just
Good.
didn't play our best. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is great, guys.
I may want to move that mic closer to her face, not her. Perfect. There we go.
She's not a professional podcaster, guys. It's okay.
I don't know why you.
Well, neither are we. What are you talking about?
I mean, I've been doing this for almost 2 years now, so I consider myself a podcaster.
That is actually still mind blowing.
I know, 2 years, bro. 2 years.
I
think it goes.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
Still not a fan.
He's still not a fan. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. You guys have been in the podcast in the past, which I appreciate.
What are you talking about? This is my first time.
And Tyler,
We were supposed to be together the last time.
yeah, the last time where it got canceled.
That was a rough one.
That was a rough one.
Yeah, but it did turn into something good.
It did. We ended up
good did come out
after
of it.
you and Franklin
I
left.
left. That's what was good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
but after you and Franklin left, Tyler's like, you know what? Since we're here and the equipment's on, and
Let's just do it.
let's just do it. And then we just kind of like sat.
Wait, hold up. No, wait. Let's back up. Is that really your impression of me?
No.
What about the impression of me? It got great when you left. Like, how about that? Like, things.
That's
happy.
not
You guys-
what you said.
You guys add value to this show, okay? That's why I always have you guys come back. Tyler's been on here for how many times now? Like at least a half dozen times.
I've lost track. Honestly, I don't remember.
He's essentially the resident co-host of the
Essentially,
show.
when he texts me, "Hey, bro, you like 95% of the time, it's just immediate. Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah, for
Aw,
sure.
That's so sweet.
It's the sweetest thing. But I'm excited about the show because it's the first time that I have a multiple person panel.
No.
It wasn't?
You had it with Navi and Marco.
There's somebody named Navi
Oh, yeah.
and Javi? That's so cute.
So it's been. I will rephrase that. It's been a long.
you.
It's
Gotta
the,
defend my people.
the first time in a long time, and if Marco, you're listening, Navi, you're gonna listen to this.
Love
I
you too.
apologize, and I love
you
you.
too.
Okay,
I got your back.
but it's the first time in a long time that we do a 3-person deal,
That is
and
true.
we're gonna kind of talk about a few things that I have on my phone, and I don't know where my phone is right now. because I do take notes, guys. We don't just wing it. Is it on that side? Is it? Look at knees. Thanks. You're so kind. But before we do, I like to. So, the big controversial thing.
Okay, hold on. That does not narrow it down.
Wait. So you know what
you have to really.
you know for the world outside of the Christian community, you know that June is Pride Month, right? So it gives a lot of these goofies that call themselves Christians get on the blowhorn and start saying some stuff. And I wanted to get a live reaction from you guys, because who here watches or heard of The Chosen? Have you watched? You heard?
I've seen it.
Watched trailers?
I've seen multiple.
Okay, so you've seen multiple episodes, right? So, me being the content creator that I am, I'm always online, just getting the pulse of the culture, right? And I saw this thing trending, and someone reposted a tweet, and I don't have Twitter, so I follow this guy that reposts tweets on his Instagram. So that's how I see all these tweets and all these trending things and the what's going viral on Twitter and everything else. And then I saw that Dallas Jenkins, which is the owner, CEO / director, producer of The Chosen, he was being attacked. And the reason why he was being attacked was because one of the camera the camera crew members, is gay. And they took a behind-the-scenes picture and posted it on their Twitter while filming season 4 of The Chosen. And the Twitter Christian sphere went berserk. They wanted, and that's why I cringe every time so-called Christians subscribe to cancel culture when it comes to these types of issues, whether it be abortion, guns, Pride Month, LGBT, whatever, right? And I cringe because I feel like that's not our job. We should be charitable enough to understand where they're at in their walk of life, right? Okay. I have gay members in my family, and although I wouldn't affirm or agree to their theology and their lifestyle, I still love them. I still break bread with them. I still have Christmases with them. I still go to gatherings whenever they're around. Did I go to their wedding? No, but they understood where I'm at in life and the theology that I believe and the things that I believe, and they respect that. So we have this reciprocal, mutual respect when it comes to our lifestyle. My lifestyle is what they know it to be, and their lifestyle is what I know it to be. And I don't subscribe to their lifestyle. I don't affirm gay marriage, but I love gay people. And it may sound weird to the person that's outside looking in to hear someone say, how can you love gay people but not affirm their theology or agree with marriage and matrimony and things like that? It's because you don't know what I believe in and you don't read the Bible the way I read the Bible. And that's just where the differences are. And I think we could still have, healthy dialogue amongst the two communities without it turning into you're an abomination, you're going straight to hell. How dare does Dallas Jenkins allow these people work in their shoots and so on and so forth. So Dallas Jenkins was attacked all week last week, and to the point where he had to come out on his YouTube channel and say his spiel about what they do, who they contract, because it's not they're a company who contract independent contractors to do their.
That's the majority of like the film, lighting,
correct,
stunts. Like it's like all people don't realize like that's not just one giant company where they have everybody there. Sometimes you have to independently contract people in,
right,
because of contractual obligations. It's sometimes cheaper, but also it allows like people like that to kind of pick and choose the work that they want to do. Because sometimes in that realm, you can pick and choose what you want to do. Right. You can pick and choose projects you want to be a part of. There are times that certain directors or studios usually go with either like a company or certain types of contractors because they know them, they know the work, they've worked with them before, things like that. So I mean, immediately when I kind of hear all this, like, I have multiple questions. Like, okay, so he was gay. So is he living in sin? Were they ministering to him? Like, what's the bigger picture, right? Because if I hear like, oh, someone's gay, like my first thought is not to just jump down their throat. It's like, okay, well, what else about them? That's not the only thing about them. Yeah. Like, okay, he was a cameraman. Guess what? He was still using his gifts for God's glory because they were creating a show
about Jesus, essentially,
and one that was very well received even outside of the Christian realm.
Right. And let's call a spade. Like sometimes when you do contract independent companies to do media, and
you run into this of like you could get people who you may not necessarily agree with or live the lifestyle you want.
Because some of these companies are secular companies, and if you want high end, high quality stuff, 9 times out of 10,
just because they say it's Christian doesn't mean it's good. I'm sorry. I will defend that.
Because we could just look at Pure Flix right now, and it's like not even subpar. And I love my people, but sometimes they don't shoot for the stars when it comes to content creating, when it comes to that arena. And I feel like Christians should shoot for the stars for that. Like, why can't we be better than Hollywood? You know what I mean?
And honestly, like, again, same thing. You bring them in, you can minister to them.
Exactly. So that all that being said, we're just going to listen to a few minutes of his response, and then we're going to collectively react to that. We're not going to take the entire podcast on this. We're just going to, just bear with me. We're probably going to use 15 minutes of the show to kind of react to it because I just found it really interesting. So I'm going to fast forward to after the wonderful commercial.
Thank you.
We're going to skip, and then we're going to...
how's your week been?
Mine's fine. Thank you for asking.
And if my notes are correct, because I memorized this, so I think he started talking at 1:55.
This is all based on stuff that has been on my heart for years and has been our philosophy from the beginning. So here is actually what happened. So one of our crew members, one of my favorite crew members actually, an independent contractor. Our crew members are independent contractors. So this would be like if you hired a crew to come build your home or paint your office space. He has a 3-inch pride flag on his own personal equipment. He has it on every project that he works on. He's had it on his equipment on our project for over a year. He's been with us for a while. And it happened to show up in the corner of one of our behind-the-scenes videos for a few seconds.
All right, so right there he's just explaining that the picture was a behind-the-scenes picture that got retweeted on Twitter.
There's some key things in there. First off, it's personal equipment.
Right, exactly, because he's an independent contractor. So let's continue.
So it's like if
someone asked about it, which isn't the first time we've been asked about things like that, maybe even that specifically in the past, and we violated our own rule about responding on someone else's turf, and we ended up giving kind of a standard answer that we give when asked about our cast and crew's personal beliefs, which we get asked about all the time. And that was a mistake because this issue is a little bit more nuanced than just a standard, what does your cast and crew believe answer. So to be clear, there was no flag flown. A 3-inch flag doesn't fly anyway. Yeah. There's been no statement made by the Chosen about Pride or Pride Month or anything like that. There's no promotion of anything happening, unlike some of the headlines and some of the hysterical rantings we've seen. Now, again, not everyone who comments on this is hysterical. I'm not saying that. Many of you have very legitimate and fair questions. I'm just saying that when you look on social media, you're always going to be shown the most engaging and eye-catching and clickbaity headlines, and it's, I'm sure, going to throw you off sometimes and cause some confusion. So in our now or never, all or nothing times, this turned into a bit of a culture war, kind of an intra-Christian culture war, and we're getting compared to companies that actively promote whatever woke agenda that people are concerned about. So on our set, just to be clear, this is nothing new.
Just to be clear, he was implying Target and the Bushes with Bud Light and Budweiser. Just so we're clear.
Like I said, we've had for a long time. Our cast and crew have wildly different beliefs. They run the spectrum, and they sometimes wear T-shirts or hats that go across the entire spectrum, from a pride flag or a MAGA hat or a Jesus Saves shirt. And no one's been triggered. No one on our set minds. Everyone loves our fellow cast and crew members, including the overwhelming majority of our visitors and like our extras, our background extras who come in and see all of this stuff. And unless people are jerks or don't work hard, we are a huge, we're a family. We're very tight-knit on set, and everyone loves the experience. And our personal policy has always been that we don't police individual workspaces or social media. So when we bring on independent contractors like our cast and crew, just from the beginning, Amanda and I, when we first started The Chosen, and my partner Daryl and others, we've just made it very clear to each other, to our cast and crew, and to you actually, that we do not have a religious or political litmus test for who we hire, and we also do not police individuals' social media or their own personal workspaces, like their own gear, their own equipment, their own t-shirts. And we just made that decision years ago. I'll explain why in a little bit.
And the why in a little bit, because we're not going to get through the whole entire video. The why is because he wants it to be at the highest quality possible to bring out a high quality product that speaks on the life of Jesus Christ. So that's what he's going to.
But our cast and crew can say what they want on social media, and as long as they are not harming anyone else on set,
which is important.
Kind of the usual rules of everyone just kind of respecting each other. They're their own person, and even in this last week, some of our cast said some things online that I wouldn't have said, and we talked about it, and I just said, you can say what you want, but I think here's examples of wisdom that we could practice, and but that's just how we've operated from the beginning. So this particular issue this week, this is not our problem. We're doing the same thing we've always done. It's a philosophy we've had all along. We've communicated it repeatedly. Our visitors and whatnot see it when they come. In fact, when we filmed the feeding of the 5,000, some of our crew members, in fact, one of our crew members had this little pride flag on his own personal equipment then too. So there's nothing for us to do about this because I don't change my mind based on responses. Right. But there's nothing for us to do but repeat what we've already said. And if this issue bothers you, that's fine. But that's not really something for us to be concerned with or try to change. You don't like my philosophy on personal workspaces on my set? Okay. I mean, again, like I said, this is not the first time. And I just don't make decisions based on disagreements or how people might respond. That said, here is a refresher. Now, before you turn off the video because you go, that's it. I knew it. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to change their mind and they're wrong and I'm done.
And I don't think he owes anybody.
But here's a refresher on things we've said before, and maybe some little clarifications on things we haven't said yet. Number one, and this is very important, we are not a church. We are not a nonprofit. We're not a ministry. We're not any kind of religious or political organization. Now, the content.
By the way, he's said that since day one, since the production of season 1. He came out and said, "Hey, we're not a nonprofit. We're not a church, and we're not a ministry."
Itself can be ministerial, of course. And even the term Christian production, I've heard that thrown around. Again, I haven't been paying much attention to social media, but my team has been obviously asking me some questions about how to respond. And I've heard the term, on a Christian production, you shouldn't XYZ. I'm not exactly sure what that term means, to be honest. Now, don't let that scare you.
It's a little-known body transformation secret. A weird 6-second ice trick to your morning routine.
Hey, speaking of
can a production be Christian? The content can, of course. I mean, we're a show about Christ, so we're probably one of the most Christian content in history because we are about Christ.
And the most successful by the numbers.
But the production itself, the equipment, the crew, the team, the set, I mean, we film all over the place on different sets, and we work with different vendors, and we don't have any kind of corporate policy about statements of faith or anything like that. We don't have corporate prayer on our set, and we have all kinds of employees. There's no statement of faith they're required to sign, like I just said. There's no offset clauses, like off the set, this is how you have to behave, or anything like that. So strangers to the show, or people online who keep saying The Chosen Inc. is a ministry or a church, or should be like one, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Our company standards and practices, and my own personal calling and ministry, and my personal life, and how I run my business, it might not be the same as yours. Can that be okay? I mean, even if you disagree, Can that be okay? Can how we do it maybe be different from how you do it? Maybe not. But it's just important for you to remember that we are a for-profit public company as of now, and because of that, we might run things a little differently than you would, and we certainly run things differently than a church or nonprofit or ministry. Second important point that kind of guides some of our principles on this. Solomon built the Holy Temple. I mean, this is the Holy Temple of God. And the labor and the materials, many of them came from what's described in the Bible as pagan nations, pagan workers. He got help. And when he asked the king, I believe, the king of Tyre, I don't remember how to pronounce it.
Which I could, by the way, appreciate the fact that he goes to the Bible and correlates everything to what he's trying to convey in this message.
Yeah.
He referenced David, that David had done the same thing. And this is the Holy Temple. It was built by
pagans,
what the Bible describes as pagans. People, but let's maybe not use the word pagans, let's just use the word people who strongly would disagree with Solomon or David in their spiritual practice. And you think also of like Bible. I've used this term before, when a Bible is printed. Do you think that the people who print the Bible, the people who deliver the Bible, are all of the same faith? Very likely not. And so our philosophy has been that, but we can have a difference of opinion about that, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm just expressing our philosophy, and we don't find that anyone on our cast or crew are actively pushing anything in our face or saying things on set that are difficult or offensive. Now, this is another important point, and one of the main reasons why I have this philosophy, why I came into the show having this philosophy, because oftentimes the roles have been reversed. I've seen, it's happened both ways, but I've seen it also where Christians aren't allowed to express themselves at work or on sports teams, or when bosses force their employees to wear a certain thing, put on a patch, line up for some sort of cause, and or resist one of their employees doing it. And I would imagine that if you were an employee at a place that had different beliefs than you do, and you wanted to show up and have a crucifix or a Jesus Saves sticker or something on your own personal workspace, and they said, no, you can't do that, I don't want you to do that, you're triggering someone else or whatever, you would, I would imagine, be not happy with that. We've seen that happen before, and people complain about it, and people protest it when they see it happening. And I would agree with that. I don't like that either. I think that's wrong. And so, because I believe that that's wrong, even when the roles are reversed, then I would believe that it's wrong in my case, even if I disagree with something that someone may wear or post. Now, that said, we just agreed from the beginning. Amanda and I just said that this is going to be our philosophy. Now, if we were a church, or if in the description I provided, you're working for a political organization or something that has in its bylaws and as it's set up a particular statement of faith, then I think that's fair. I mean, again, I'm politically libertarian. I believe in freedom and that companies can do and operate how they want. And that includes, of course, nonprofits and ministries. And so if we were a church, my church has a different approach to hiring and whatnot than I do on my set.
Right.
I understand that would be different, but we are not.
So we're gonna stop it there because obviously he made his point. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of his response and how he pretty much set the tone that he's a libertarian, he's a Christian conservative, he goes to a church, how his church conducts, how they hire employees are totally different to how he conducts his business that's for profit and not a ministry and not a church. So how do you feel about that?
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that he owed anyone an explanation, but I think that was really nice of him and like kind of him to do that.
Because he was being charitable.
Yeah. Really.
Right.
Truly. Like, especially if your own employees know the deal, like, and know the truth, like, know what he doesn't owe anyone anything. But I love his like honesty. I thought he articulated it real well. I'm like very captivated by what he said. I agree with like, everything. And like, if Christians like know that like before, like, oh, this is a Christian thing. Like people that aren't Christian aren't willing to necessarily be employed under that. You know, like you have that choice before. So he's made it clear from the get that it is what it is, you know, and not every Christian has the best gift to give, you know? So it's like, there's just so many, I mean, God made everybody, you know? So like, if that was the case, I mean, it would just be an imbalanced world, you know, in that way. So I love that he's like quality over quantity. And I've watched Chosen. This is whoever he is, like, it is not like, I recognize that Jesus, that he's like done, you know? So it's not even this fake Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
or some hippie.
Like like the moments when Jesus spoke, like, I'm like, I recognize that one, you know? So he's not a fraud, in my opinion, you know, but maybe people could disagree with that. So clearly the way that he does things, he does it pretty well, you know? And so for someone to, you know, people are just trying to stir up whatever they can, you know, they'll find any little bit, I mean, a 3-inch, you know what I mean? Like how much smaller can the thing get, you know? And so it's like, but you know, a sticker, anybody would like say it, you know? So I just think he didn't owe anyone that, but I appreciate that he did.
Yeah. Would you like to echo some of that, or?
Sometimes it annoys me how wisdomless some Christians are.
I was actually thinking that.
And the reason I say that is because, you know, not that I'm the most wise person, but I try to emulate it, because like even during like certain things where it's like, oh, people are outraged in this, I'm like, okay, let's pause and back up. Like, what's really happening with that outrage? Like, what are people really? But what's beyond that? What is kind of more the full story of that? Which I think, and I agree with her. Do I think he needed to actually, you know, say something? No, but unfortunately, we live in a society that, unfortunately, unless you address every little thing, you're just going to be attacked.
And possibly canceled.
100%. I mean, well, that's. I mean, here's the thing: you're not going to get that type of attention unless you're trying to cancel you. You're not going to be able to get there. And unfortunately, you know, I mean, listen, Paul called us out in Romans. Do not conform to the patterns of this world. Us having a cancel culture and getting frustrated over this does nothing good but make us just part of the world again. Right. And aren't we supposed to be set out and apart from the world? And it's like, actually, the entire time that she was kind of talking, I was actually looking through Twitter, since I have Twitter, and I actually found a lady responding to the post. I found the picture of it. Yeah. It's the tiniest little thing.
It's a 3-inch flag.
You could barely even see it, and people are completely outraged over this, which is like, okay, I understand, but we also have to understand, like, the world, even within, like, look at our own Christian culture. How many different denominations do we have? Right. We all have different beliefs, and we all follow the same God. We all follow the same person in Christ. Like, why is it there's so much that we just want to jump out and attack? It's like, well, wait a second. Like, aren't we supposed to, you know, show that we are calm, that we are wise? Aren't we supposed to, you know, inhibit like certain things about Christ? Like, yes, like, you know, there's a couple things that Christ got frustrated with, but as a whole, like, we should be taking a step back and going like, well, okay, well, what's the best thing to do this? How can we approach this? You know, not saying, oh, we need to find counsel or whatever the case may be, but it's like, okay, understanding the full picture. I mean, we already kind of talked in a little bit where it's like, it's a contractor. Yeah, it's not they didn't contract full Christian people, because just as you were saying, they want a high level quality. They want a high level quality product to be able to go out into the world. Right. Like he said it's like, you know, sometimes we have to do this, sometimes we have to do this. It's like, and it's not compromising on their own beliefs. Right. Just because, like, I mean, even Chick-fil-A hires gay people. I'm sorry. There it is. The secret's out. I'm sorry. I ruined Chick-fil-A for everybody. But
it's the devil's chicken now. Chick-fil-A's an abomination.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask. But
oh my God.
But like, it's like you want a high quality product, you know, and it's like, even the people who don't love Christ, who don't live for Him, God's still going to use those people to build His kingdom. Right. Like, I'm sorry, like, that is something I will. That's a hill I will die on. Right. That is a hill I will absolutely die on. I mean, look at the Chosen. There were thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who would have never even opened a Bible, that are now interested in the story of Christ and what he stood for and what he was doing. Now, granted, of course, wisdom. It's a drama size. It's not all fully accurate.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
That's okay. It's bringing more people. That's bringing more people in to kind of figure out what is Christ really all about,
and essentially to be exposed to the gospel.
100%.
And I think when it comes to these types of things and these types of quote unquote outrages by Christians, a lot of Christians just start shooting friendly fire, and people get hurt in the midst of that friendly fire because of lack of being charitable. Like, why can't we just sit in rooms and say, okay, let's have a discussion as to what we saw, how can we be better, how can we react to this in a charitable way, in a more loving way than going on Twitter and starting this frenzy and everybody piling on to the point where Dallas had to get on YouTube and make this video.
But honestly, is he appeasing those people?
Right.
They're going to think what they think.
Exactly.
It won't matter.
It won't matter. It will probably make them even angrier.
I think what the straw that broke the camel's back was when someone had this rant about, they might as well be Target and Budweiser.
Okay.
And I'm like, bro, like you're gonna call Dallas and what he's doing with this show and this company that's clearly ministering to thousands of people, and you're gonna compare him to Target, who are on record and on the news for affirming certain lifestyles that us Christians don't affirm. Right. Like, that's crazy to me. And that's the lack of charity. That's the lack of being charitable towards people who are actually actively trying to produce a product that is viewable, that is easy to digest.
Is entertaining and good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think Christian culture also has this really, really bad thing that we do consistently. And it's funny. It's like, aren't we supposed to kind of grow and learn from our mistakes? But it's like a lot of times you see that like essentially Christian culture projects something onto somebody, right? It's like even in like the modern culture, it's like if we find out that someone's a Christian, it's like every Christian wants to hop on. They essentially claim this person as their own, whether it be like Chance the Rapper, Donald Trump. Like, I'm just throwing out names because this has happened. Right. It's not like it's I'm supporting personally, but it's like they project like their own culture and their own beliefs onto this person who is claiming to be a Christian, right? That could whether or not that's not me to judge. It is not my responsibility,
right?
But that's why we always end up getting hurt and disappointed in these earthly people, because they all they do is like they have to believe exactly what we believe,
right? But
if they don't believe, it's like, well, how do you do that? Like, I have to question your entire character and your entire being, and are you even really a Christian? It's like, whoa, calm down. It's like, just because I don't fully believe in, going back to the denomination thing, right? Like, I'm not Baptist, right? Like, there's plenty of things I disagree with Baptists on, Lutherans, like even non-denominational, evangelical, kind of whatever you want to put on that. Yeah. But like, I don't want someone to put, like, let's just say, for example, if I get famous, I don't want a whole group of people trying to claim me as like, oh man, like he's our guy. It's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, they might mistake you to a Calvinist.
No, it's like that too.
You're not a Calvinist, bro.
I am not a Calvinist. Shout out to my boy Caleb Gates. Love you, bro. He's a self-proclaimed Calvinist, but like it's like we get hurt by these people, and so then it's like if one tiny thing is off, the whole thing is done.
Right.
The whole thing is done, and it's like kind of like, wait a second, weren't you just 10 minutes ago supporting this? Like, just because you don't fully agree on every single subject doesn't mean that I'm not, like, I'm the same person I was like 2 hours ago. An hour ago, like a couple days ago, whatever the case, whatever you want to say, but like to have just a small difference affect the entire image, that's lunacy. Yeah, that's the same thing that we get mad at like the other side for, right? It's like, oh, well, you don't fully understand. It's like, okay, well, you don't fully understand this story either.
And I love the fact that Dallas said, "What if the shoes were on the other foot? Yeah, what if you, Neeza, go to a company and you happen to have a sticker that says, Jesus saves, or a bracelet that says, what would Jesus do? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then they tell you, well, you can't wear that. I'm sorry. How would that make you feel?
Yeah, that's great.
You know? So it's like, I personally feel that whenever we choose not to put the shoe on the other foot
Mm-hmm.
is where we set ourselves up for failure,
Yeah.
where we set ourselves up to look like idiots.
Mhm.
And not only that, but then it just gives the secular world
Another
reason to hate Christians and call us goofies.
And it's the
You know what I'm
funniest thing.
saying? And it's like the most goober thing to ever subscribe to is going on a blowhorn and say, you're an abomination because you are gay, or you affirm abortions, and you are pro this, and you are wearing a MAGA hat. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Like,
Imagine if God did the same thing to us for the smallest thing.
Right, exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
God would be like outraged at us. He would never. You'd say that.
Bless you.
Bless you. It's like,
I'll edit that out.
no, you won't. Bet.
I won't.
Please take that out.
No. That was a righteous, holy
That was
sneeze.
like really
You are
small
blessed.
in
I
comparison
should
to what I
bless
could
you in
do.
the whole. Do you want me to go get the oil?
I
Oil?
Holy
Holy
And
oil,
we're-
dear. I cannot speak
And
to that.
we'll anoint you.
I'll do it. Listen, I'll go do it. I'll go make some right now. But I think you got my point. Thanks.
Sorry.
Good job. But yeah, it's like, what if God did the same thing to us? Like,
Right.
there are times I find myself in situations like, well, what if God did this to me? How would I feel? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, we as Christians shouldn't be subscribing to anything remotely close to cancel culture, because that's just,
It's the ways of the world.
yeah, it's the ways
We're
of the
not about
world,
that.
and we're not about that. We want to kind of be the ones that set trends and you know, want to be countercultural, but also maintain a healthy culture where other Christians are not getting shot at by friendly fire. Like, we shouldn't be arguing amongst each other over a 3-inch flag that got caught in a corner of a behind-the-scenes picture that was taken at a behind-the-scenes of a Christian show. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous to even regurgitate that fact. But
Yeah.
again, people go crazy on Twitter. A lot of these Christian vloggers get really, you know, twitchy on those Twitter fingers.
Who, by the way, have no real world experience with almost
Right.
anything. So
And they're probably in their mama's basement with no girlfriend and can't catch a date.
speaking of dates, and
Oh, speaking,
Wow. Speaking of someone that doesn't have a boyfriend.
I mean, me and Tyler are not far removed
You're
from
lucky
being
that Florida doesn't
single.
have any basements, okay? But
Oh
whatever,
my
it's
God.
fine.
even in Florida, there's no.
You don't have
such
to
thing as dates.
target
All right.
people, but that's fine.
Okay. Well,
I don't care.
Christian vloggers that are in Florida are chilling in their mama's, you know,
It's summertime. There's extra
Second
time.
floor,
and-
maybe
in their
spare
second
bedroom.
floor loft on the side of the house, going on Twitter,
which they still yell, "Mom, can you get me some Dino Nuggets?"
eating their Ben and Jerry's, talking crap about Christians and how they should act and how should they behave and what they should affirm and shouldn't affirm. They can't even get on a date.
Dino nuggets.
Dino
I just said the
Nuggets.
first thing that came to my mind.
But that's actually a great segue. Speaking of dating,
That was a great
there's a lot of people, and
Listen, it's not our first time doing this, okay?
Yeah, great job.
I'm applauding.
What am I even doing?
I mean,
here?
what are you
Javi,
even doing?
This is the first time we're getting our transitions critique in person.
In
live.
person? It's crazy.
Wow.
Leave it to Neeza to do that. Friendly
But-
fire.
but here's the-
Speaking of friendly fire,
I am friendly.
shots fired. Dang, I'm bleeding out here.
Dang.
It's okay, bro. I got your.
But
Just trying to get-
Neeza, you are single
Still, yeah.
still.
From the last time I was
Well,
here.
hold on.
From the last time you were here,
But is she ready to mingle though?
and you're not actively dating, correct?
No.
But you can give us or the viewers or the listeners on Spotify and
All of
Apple
us.
Podcasts and Spotify, they're listening. YouTube, they're watching.
Some people are watching. In
And
particular, somebody is too.
and me and Tyler qualify because we're not that far removed from being single and being in the dating scene. So we have our perspective, and we're going to objectively say some things. And this is kind of like an objective perspective kind of deal when it comes to dating, relationships, and so on and so forth. I do get people from all over on the Instagram, DMing me about you should talk about more about dating and how.
I feel like we almost talk too much about.
I know, and I'm like, are you not listening to what I?
Have you listened to the past? What episode is this?
And seriously though, but like it's like I know that I talk about pop culture stuff and current event stuff, and I talk about mental health. I'm a big advocate of mental health, as Tyler knows. I'm actually looking for a new therapist because my guy is no longer covering my insurance, so I can't afford him anymore. So I'm actively looking for a therapist. So if anybody that's in the South Florida, Palm Beach County specifically, can shoot me a text or a DM, because I'm actively looking for a new therapist. But anyway, I digress.
You know what? That's the best way of getting yourself a therapist. But like, hey, listen, you've listened to all my crap already.
Yeah.
So it's gonna make your job so much easier.
Yes.
Go back to
it's
my
like
files.
it's like, all right, dude. Here's everything. Just pulls out this big notebook and flips through it all. It's like, we're gonna start here.
This guy in PJ actually.
You see in episode 47.
Yeah. But yeah. So I, for whatever reason, I still get people DMing me like, hey, you should talk more about Christian dating and how it's so impossible nowadays, especially as a 30-year-old, especially as a 35-year-old. Or I'm in college and it's hard to stay pure. It's very difficult to practice my purity and all these things. And we all don't have it. We don't have all the answers to it. We can give you.
Do yourself a favor and look in the mirror and say, I will never have it together.
Yeah. And I think,
do yourself a favor.
And I think if you have accountability, like I always preach on here about plugging into the right community, plugging into your local church. I'll even echo what Dallas Jenkins said about church and ministry. I am not a church or a ministry. I'm a content creator that encourages listeners and viewers to get their butts in a local church, because I am a firm believer of the power of a local church and how it could be a positive to your life. I think being part of a healthy local church and serving at a healthy local church is going to be a net positive in your life rather than a negative. It's just how I speak from experience. I know what it's like when I'm not plugged in, when I'm living worldly, and I'm not really on my P's and Q's when it comes to walking out my salvation. All that being said, I do encourage people to get involved in a community that will hold you accountable, a community that you can be transparent with, a community that you can be vulnerable with. Because I think they're in vulnerability, in transparency, there is transformation. I mean, again, I'm speaking from experience because I am involved in a Monday night men's group where I've seen grown men change and make adjustments in their lives and do things for the kingdom and be delivered from porn addiction and all these other things. I've seen it in real time. So I know this stuff works. I know God is real. The God that I serve is a real God that can do these things to people. So when it comes to dating, I don't think it's any different. I think there are parameters, there are guidelines that we need to abide by. And do we trip up and mess up? Absolutely, because we're flesh. We tend to trip up at times, but we have to repent. Repentance is a thing. It's more than an apology. It's more than going to your corner of your room and saying, I'm sorry, God, I won't do it again.
I won't do it again, but yeah, I will do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and then tomorrow you're kind of in the same, you're caught in this rat race wheel thing where you're just tripping and not
Hamster
really.
wheel?
Hamster wheel, yes. Thank you. See, that's why I have you on the show, bro.
That's the only reason.
So what do you think about, is it difficult to date in 2023?
From a female perspective.
From a female perspective, yes. Putting a spotlight on you right now.
We were both looking at you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the most important thing at the end of the day is I don't want to come this far to only come this far, and
Right.
I don't want to settle, So if it means take longer, I'm good with that. But I'm a different person, so I'm not actively dating and things like that. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I'm more of the.
Because you're built different.
Exactly, and just wait till August. No, yeah, so I'm different, but because I could have got married a long time ago, like when I was like 25 years old. So, and then God told me like not to get married, you know? So my life is like completely different versus people that are actively like looking and like trying, you know? Like I'm not allowed to like, well, not allowed, but like God recommends that I don't go on dating apps because probably with my personality, I'd have a field day, right? Like I'd be like, yeah, you know, but so he knows me. So it's more of like, you just sit and you just, you know, so I'm like different, but do I think it's harder now than before? Yes, I do agree. I think anyone could probably tell you that, you know, like, you know, being loyal and like not cheating had a high, like, you know, regard like back then to now, like even the people that you don't think are doing it, you know? So it's like, there's that, then there's more trauma that's happened. Now there's more trust issues and like, there's just more coming out. And I think that's limiting a lot of people. People are just kind of getting a little bit more desperate. So now they're falling into like relationships they shouldn't, then they're getting burned. Then it's like you said, like it's a hamster wheel. Like now they're in a toxic cycle. Like it's just like really, really bad, you know? And there's no like, and I've always said this, and I will say this till the end of time, to Christian women, to Christian men, the ratio has always been like 3 to 1. You know?
As far as like lopsided?
Yeah, like to every one Christian guy, there's like 3 amazing Christian women waiting, right? And like I feel like a Christian guy, this could be my very strong opinion, you guys can tell me different, that they could easily find a Christian girl versus a Christian girl finding a Christian guy.
Why are you just turning to me?
I mean, that's why I have you here, bro.
That's true. That is true. Because I'm here to mess things up.
So what do you think about that statistic?
So what's your source on the 3 to 1?
Life.
Which is the greatest barometer of all time.
No, this actually brings up a good point. Because I'm not going to lie. That brings up a good point. That brings up a really good point. Because from our perspective, as guys, we kind of see, I don't want to say the inverse, but to us from what we want to do, right? Because Javi and I both know we have higher callings in our lives for what we're supposed to do, what we're called to do, what we're going to do. And so we can't just have, kind of like, we can't settle for just any old type of person, right? We need someone who's going to be a cheerleader, someone who, like, in a way wants to kind of walk that life, because it's not an easy life when you are on the front lines of the spiritual warfare. When you're on the front, it's very different, right? It's like if listen, this isn't an insult to anybody. If you go to church and oh man, that's right, I wish I could do that. It's like, you know, my time studying under Will, you know, going to different churches, and then even starting under Pastor Will Torres, love you, bro, is opened my eyes even more to kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, not that I didn't already have respect for a lot of people like that, but like my respect for that grew even more, especially with the, you know, couple of pastor guys that he really introduced me to, who I really look up to, all those guys, even though they called me intern for the entire weekend. That was fun. I'm like, I'm 31. They call me an intern. It's great. But so anyways, backing up to kind of the dating aspect of it, like, you know, for us, it's like we don't want to settle for just any old woman either. You know, we want to, because the Bible even says you want to be with someone who you want to go to war with. Right. I mean, sometimes it almost seems like you're literally going to go to war. Right. Right. But of course, you're talking about a spiritual warfare. Right. Someone who's going to be there to help you, fight with you. Right. You know, be in the trenches with that. Yeah. And so I'm not saying like, oh, oh man, like, you know, all these women are not that great quality, but it's like, it felt like from our side of it, the pickings were rather slim. Because especially when I want to say this very gently, but it seems as if there are times where, I mean, even my own experiences, like when you're up on some sort of platform, whatever that may be, right? People are more drawn to you because of that platform, not because of, you know, if you're like great or whatever. It's like just because there is a platform, right? Like, because I mean, at one point even I preached somewhere, and like afterwards, I didn't realize it at first because I was still kind of on like the preaching high. And I got down, and all of a sudden I realized like I'm just surrounded by women. Right, wow. That's not a brag. I realized that actually a friend of mine was in the group, and she saw the panic on my face because I felt like I was 12 years old again, going like, what do I do?
How do I talk to girls?
Okay, guys, I gotta go bye. but again, okay, that's not a brag, but to say it's like,
yeah,
you could
that's
easily
all
get that.
Yeah,
That's all I'm good for.
It
but
didn't
it's
matter
like
what you
they
did.
have no idea the stress, the issue, the things that we've had to go through, the growth. The things that, like, let's be honest, because eventually, like, as an example, I was with somebody who I thought would eventually like build that with. Of course, it didn't work out in the end, but that it was obviously in for the best,
right?
Because they would not be I'm not saying they weren't strong enough, but it's like the path that we would have taken. They would not have been a very good fit on, be able to go to war with.
Right.
Again, that's they have their own thing. God's going to use them in their own great way, but just from that, it seems as if the pickings for women are a lot slimmer.
Yeah, and I want to jump on that too, because what you said is what I see as a man and as a guy that's co-leading a men's group. I do see a lack of men stepping up. There's a lack of men that are in the fence about their faith and exercising their faith. And you talk about conforming to the ways of the world. Some of these guys, they default to that because it's the easiest thing to do.
Sure.
And I see all these guys and I'm like, yo, if you only utilized your ambitions for the kingdom rather than for this world, you'll be such a more dangerous man.
Sure.
Like, the devil hates that.
Yeah.
The devil hates a dangerous, equipped man filled with the Holy Ghost.
That's probably why he attacks the men more.
And that's why
For sure.
the attacks are more on the men.
I agree.
And that's why you see men identifying as women. That's why you see men questioning their value. That's why you see men turning into betas and not alphas. That's why you see men, subscribing to the fact that, I'm just going to follow my old lady's lead because she knows how to do accounting. I mean, like, y'all are being simps out here. And I'm sorry to say it, but if the shoe fits, wear it, guys. But I'm not trying to call you out. I'm actually calling you up. Like, I call you up and I challenge you to really look yourself in the mirror and say, am I being the man that God is calling me to be? Am I being refined? Am I going through the fire? Am I being challenged to be a better man? Because if the answer is no, then I think you need to get plugged into a group of guys that can get you in that right direction. And it's all mindset too. You got to get in a good mindset. You got to get into that alpha male mindset. And it's not me preaching toxic narcissism, because that's not a toxic narcissistic man. Being an alpha man on fire for Christ is standing up for what men should look like and be like and act like. And not all men are warriors, but there's men that are great cooks, that are crushing it right now in culinary school, that are crushing it right now in that arena.
Sure.
And if you're going to culinary school right now, I'm sure you're crushing it right now, and then your aspirations is to be the greatest cook of all time. And that's great. You don't have to be the stereotypical alpha male that, lifts 350 pounds on a deadlift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't compare yourself to the stereotypical man, because men come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, guys. You know what I'm saying? There's the intellect. There's the guys with the brute strength. But at the end of the day, if you are a man on fire for God and standing for the principles and what's literally on those pages of the Bible, I think you're in good company, and you're in a good trajectory.
So that being said, what is essentially your response to kind of what we kind of just said? Because I mean, obviously we're not here just to beat you and like, oh, you're wrong. It's like, you said your thing, we said our thing,
and I'm actually agreeing with you.
And there are
because
times
the ratio
I
is
agree
that
with you.
because of what I just said.
Sometimes it doesn't seem that way, but again, that's neither here nor there. So what is your response to that, and have you maybe seen something along those lines now that you've kind of heard that other side of it?
Well, I attest to like my parents of like how I grew in like character and raising myself, or them raising me. But I also give a lot of credit to God for like raising me, and I think raising me as like a better woman or a better friend or a better daughter or whatever. And I think like with men, I think if you're in communion with God in your relationship, like God can raise you to be a man, you know? And so I think if you go back to it, it's like, where's their relationship at, you know? So it's like, I think, you know, I'd rather take a simp over a jerk, you know, like whatever. But I have seen guys that maybe have not been as bold, or, you know, and you don't have to be that crazy alpha. Like, you know, there's guys that barely talk, but they're an alpha, you know, like, you know, so it doesn't always like look a certain way. And with y'all's experience, I mean, I agree, because that's your experience, and like, you know, where are you backing up? Well, your life, right? So it's like, I can't even disagree with that.
Right.
But I do think that everybody's journey is different. So like, I feel like for you, like your journey may have been a different one, you know? So God may have closed off like women to you, you know, because I believe there's good, there's great, and there's best, you know? And like, there's never like, oh, you married the wrong person. I mean, if you thought that was good for yourself, you know, but like being with best, like if that's what God wanted for your life, and you decide, I mean, I think God wants best for everybody, but there's not many willing to do it. Right. So if you were willing to do that, best wasn't going to come so early necessarily. Right. Like it was going to take a second. So, but to others that may not feel like God is their forefront, or that's what they want, like, it's going to come a little bit easier. But I'm talking about just in general. If we're not talking about waiting on your best, waiting for, you know, anything like that.
Yeah, no, her mic. Yeah, just a little more to yourself. You're not talking into it.
No, it's going like up.
Yes, up. Do I need to come over there and adjust it for you?
I'm so bad at technology.
It's not technology. It's a piece of metal.
This is technology, I think.
There you go.
There we
go. Woo! So forget everything I said for the past 30 minutes.
No,
okay.
no, you're good.
No, I'm just kidding.
So we're gonna restate it. Let's do it again.
No,
I'm just exactly saying, like, if that's not, if best isn't in the forefront of your mind, and we're just saying across the board dating, I still think that there is more women running after Christ than men.
Yeah, that's
all
fact.
I'm saying.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
We are definitely a nation, a fatherless nation, and a nation that's lacking male leadership, and that's why there's crime,
both capital F and lowercase f.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys, since you have questions.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with anything. But when
Except
you said
everything.
fatherless, I thought of it. But okay, I thought of this one random day. Do you feel like, even though God is not a gender, right? He's not a man or a woman,
oh boy, here we go.
Whatever. Okay, no, I'm not getting crazy, because I don't care about those conversations. Like, we deem him as a man, a father, okay, whatever. Do you feel like being a man, it's harder to submit to another man versus like you see the mama boys, right? So if God was a mother, would it have been easier for men to like go after God? Do you feel like?
That's actually a really interesting question.
Thank you.
I can actually answer that in two ways.
So,
one, I would say,
apologize for judging me before my question had come out.
Okay, you going? I was
Remember
like, oh boy, we're going down this rabbit
ago.
hole. Okay,
yeah.
It's like I'm about to destroy you in ways you wouldn't even imagine. No, so I there is something there as well, but it's less about submission and more about what guys are kind of seeking after. Because you know how a lot of times people kind of say like, oh, like you're going to marry someone like your mother. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. So, but anyway, so like, because remember there's kind of two different sides of like the father. And, this is getting really deep and theological because like obviously. God even himself like
this is the portion of the podcast where Pastor Tyler is here.
I took off my friend cap, put on my pastor cap. Here we go.
There you
go. Because there's obviously two different qualities of God, which is why part of it is the marriage between a man and woman is the full image of God because it has both sets of attributes. It's strong, wrathical, but it's also caring. It's also like
nurturing.
Nurturing. So you have those two different sides of it. Now, would it be easier for guys to kind of submit, but more seek it out? I think in a weird way, it would almost kind of be easier. because that's something that us guys seek out. That's both biological, and that's both biological and deeply psychological. That's just a deep need. But I think no, I'm sorry, I want to say this correctly because I don't want to get myself in trouble. But for us, like, we need to submit ourselves to the Father, because the one thing that God Himself was very good at, and you can see this throughout all the different types, all the different stories throughout the Bible, is God doing things in a way that's modeling for the people to come. Right? You see it consistently from Genesis all through the Old Testament, right? Like modeling to the Jews, hey, this is how you set yourselves out apart. This is how you follow me. This is how you do this. And then when He even sent His Son, right, that to show us how to complete what God was trying to do. Is it easy? Is it easier? Would it be easier?
Do you think it's something relative? Is it relative?
It's not necessarily.
It's depending who you ask.
What type of relative?
Like, depending on who you ask. If you ask a guy that's really not, inclined to being a mama's boy, now, versus a guy who is a mama's boy.
There is some things where it's like, yes, there are some guys who don't want to answer to a woman in the way that's like, I am submitting to you, because of like an alpha type of mentality.
Or they respect their mom.
Yes, exactly. Because like, I mean, we see in the workplace where it's like, oh, no, you're a woman. Like, I mean, I actually see that with a guy who I kind of work with, where it's like, not to throw him under the bus or anything, but it's like where he's from, his culture, that's kind of what it's about. It's more the men are leading everything as opposed to the women leading something.
Sure.
So for us guys to be able to follow something like that, it is harder, but it's calling us more into what He wants for us. So would it be easier if God was a woman, quote unquote, that type of thing? But He really is. I don't say he. I'm not getting into that conversation, but it's like the sides of God, the many facets of God that fully encapsulate an entire person, because we are the imagers.
Right.
We are the bearing image of God, of the Father, which is not saying it's completed in marriage, because Christ completes us, and Christ is the Father.
Right.
But for us, it's a calling up into what God wants us to be.
Yeah.
And that's it. And so that's why there's many reasons why he wouldn't be called a woman anyway, but even He Himself says, I am the Father.
But I also think like women don't help the men out to try to be men either. I mean, I think we're more on the complaining side, like, oh, I wish you were like this, but we are also the ones that will like run after the guys, and they don't have to pursue us. You know what I mean? Like we're this generation of women are like, they're the ones doing everything, and they're okay with it.
But that's culture, though, and
that's not helping.
And I push back on that narrative, because obviously it doesn't fall in line to what we are to be when it comes to courtship. Like, men have a role, women have a role, and I'm finding it more evident that women are out here in these streets teaching men how to be men, teaching men how to court, teaching men how to do this, how to do that. Like, chivalry is dead to some of these people, and and
you've been the Carter, right?
What?
You've been the Carter, right?
No, yeah, I do. And I pull the chair and everything. Ask Scotty, she knows. But anyway, so you said chase, right? That's not an interchangeable role. The role of that role is designated in my belief, and what's conveyed in the Bible is that we are the providers, the seekers, the chasers when it comes to courting and pursuing all these things. So I think it's our job to do that. It's our job to pursue who we want to date, who we want to get to know, who we want to take out. And
I don't think you have to do it the entire time.
Right.
I think the initial, I'd be happy about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you had just asked me out on the first date, like, you know what, maybe the second one didn't have to. But I think that first initial everything, like, I just don't think that it helps that women are the ones to be like, hey, let's go out. And they're like, okay. And like, guys don't have to do it.
Also, real quick before I forget this train of thought, I think also in this generation, with the young adult generation from like 18 to 39,
Mm-hmm.
that age gap.
Mm-hmm.
I think the scarcity mentality that's been adopted by Christians because of culture is setting, especially men, not women too, but especially men, that scarcity mentality that we adopt can set blinders to red flags that we may overlook, because when we find one that looks good and it's appeasing to the eye, because we're visual creatures, you guys are more emotional, we're more visual, we tend to see.
Yeah, everybody's your husband.
Right.
Everyone's your wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So you see, oh my God, I she's the one.
Yeah.
She got the right body. She got the curves.
Like how all the girls thought that was their husband.
Right.
The
yeah.
day that he
Exactly.
Did a sermon.
So this whole scarcity mentality will set these blinders. Will set you up for failure, because then you start overlooking the actual red flags. Like you start overlooking characteristics that you may want to.
God has to literally tell me no as soon as I'm attracted to someone, because I can't even go past, like, he'll be like, no. And I'm
right.
like, okay.
No,
Like,
but it's that, but
Yeah,
that mentality
naturally.
will really mess you up, because then it's like you find the one that kind of looks good and you kind of see yourself with that person because of what they look in the exterior, and then you start dating them and you're so infatuated with how they look and how you guys picture well, and so everything on the gram looks great and all this.
What do you think about the mentality that the woman is the prize?
I don't care.
You're asking the wrong one, bro.
I really think I'm the wrong one.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong one with that.
I think I'm definitely
but
the
the whole
wrong
but the whole scarcity mentality will breed that kind of behavior, because then you think, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna find a good one, so I got to stick with this one, and you're gonna stick with someone that's not for you.
People think I'm like picky too, which is another like side of the coin, right? Like it's like, oh, Neeza, you're not even trying, like that, you know. And I'm just like, bro.
Well, anytime someone says that, means that at one point they settled and they're not happy with themselves. That's what that tells me.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
I mean, the saddest stories is the ones, the people that have like waited for like so long, but then they just couldn't wait that extra like 9th year or 10th year, and then they have this like crazy.
Okay, so actually, you know what's fun? It's actually funny you say that. I literally was thinking about this on the way here. God, we worship a God of promises. We have. So what if God never delivers?
Yeah, like, are we okay with that? Yeah.
Here's the thing: if you knew that He was never going to deliver, would you still have the same faith that you would?
But that's what the what if faith is. Like, you gotta have a what if faith.
Because we don't know.
Because we don't know.
But
so
he's saying if we did, would I still believe in Jesus? Yeah. Would it be hard for me to like not make out with a guy? You know what I mean? Like,
depending on what night.
Like, go to
we
dinner,
are being blunt here tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just saying, like,
this is Kingdom Talks,
PG,
bro.
We are keep it real, son.
We keep it real out here in these streets.
Then, I mean, that's a part of belief, but that would be more of the question, right? Like, could you? And people have been called to singleness, and they haven't done it. Whatever. Like, good for them.
Listen, all I know is I ain't no Apostle Paul, bro.
Right.
Well, first off, I do believe that Paul was married at some point. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Right,
remember,
if you want to disagree with me, hit me up on Instagram.
Yeah, please do.
I was going to say, remember, we're not going there.
But yeah, that scarcity mentality does mess people up, because we overlook a lot of red flags when it comes to, oh my gosh, I'm never going to find a great person like this, that looks like this, that feels like this. And then you have to, on the flip side of that, you have to switch your mentality. You should switch your mentality from scares to, I'll just find the next good one.
But also,
am I right or wrong?
I agree with everything. I don't even think I've ever disagreed with you.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, the opposite of scares is what? Plentiful. Like, there is plenty out there, but we adopt this scarcity mentality where you can't even tell yourself, you know what? I failed in this one. I'll get the next one.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it can be wrapped and gifted like it's good, and even it can be Christian. It could be not every Christian's supposed to be with another Christian. No. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, there's many other Christians.
Wait, no. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, sorry. I didn't mean, yes, a Christian should be with a Christian. I was about to be like,
but
like, just because you both are Christians doesn't mean that you guys were meant to be together. You know?
I would say, like we were talking about earlier today, it's like, just because, like, when people try to set you up, just because you're single, someone else is single, doesn't mean that they should immediately meet and talk.
Right.
And this and that. It's
Just
because
two
you
Christians.
one single thing of you're single.
And also that comes with maturity too. Like we're talking to.
There's not that many people mature.
Okay, but there is a level of maturity that you have to have some type of understanding that, listen, I come from trauma. I've had traumas in my childhood. I had traumas from past relationships. And actually, funny thought is there's literally 2 instances in your life where you experience trauma. And I've read this somewhere, and I forget the author's name, and he's Christian, by the way. But there's 2 traumas that we as human beings experience in our lifetime. Childhood and in relationships. Other than that, we don't really experience any other traumas. It's either in some type of relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship or a family relationship or whatever relationship, you experience traumas, and you experience traumas in your childhood.
And in church.
On say, bro, we grew up in the '90s.
But church is relational.
Okay.
So when you're in relation with a church, whether it be early on in your life or later on in your life, there's going to be traumas there, right? So there's going to be traumas in relationships, whatever that relational situation looks like, whether it be romantic or whatever, or in your childhood. And I feel that unchecked trauma that's not healed, and you're not completely healed from that, I believe, and this is probably a little bit extreme, but I believe you're not prepared to be in a relationship when you have unchecked stuff and unchecked traumas.
But that's when you want to be in a relationship,
right?
Which is crazy.
That hasn't been
like,
healed. Like if you're not fully healed, you have no business trying to get into a serious relationship.
But for instance, an example would be if you just broke up with someone, a rebound is always feels the best, right? Because it helps you get over this one. Now we're in this one, but you didn't like have the process.
But that's
of healing.
so unhealthy.
Exactly. But that's when you want to be in a relationship more. You know, like my biggest prayer, and God knows that, and that's why, again, like there's a plethora of reasons why I'm single, but one other reason is I told God, like, I don't think it's fair that, like, to the last person I was with, to my future husband, if I'm like, there's ties anywhere, like with somebody, you know, I would love to come with a clean slate. Like, even though there's been too much in between, I will wait way longer, as long as I can, like, you know, like, don't bring him until I'm ready, or you think I'm ready. You know what I mean? Because I could think I'm ready, but I know when that guy comes.
And it's also
like,
our responsibility to
want
heal,
that,
to want to
though.
heal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna want it.
I'd say it's kind of like that weird adage where it's just like, you know, the person has to want to do this,
right?
Otherwise, it's like you can be blue in the face, you can give them all the reasons, but unless they themselves want to,
right?
But like truly want it, right? Like I can fake want it and then like do whatever. Like when it came to sin and stuff, like one thing that God had told me a long time ago that actually like stuck with me forever was when I had like not turned away from God, but I just wanted to experience this like curiosity kill the cat like kind of life, you know? You know, God had been like, you know, was it desirable? And I'm like, yeah. Like I wasn't like, no, it's not God. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah. I was like, sin was so desirable. He's like, great. It's desirable, but it's not sustainable. And that really really shook me for a second, because desire is, again, the hamster cycle.
Right.
Sustainable is, you know, can like take you through the years, you know? And what do you truly want? We want sustainable, which is why we don't tell people about our sin, right? That's why we want to keep sinning, because low-key we want to keep doing it, you know? But the long term is, like, if you want to sustain anything or commit to anything, like, if that's what you want, then you can, like, walk in that, you know, the true want, not the fake want.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense, because I think that when you are not healed, when you have traumas that you haven't really exercised out, and you haven't really understood where those traumas come from, you don't understand the root of the issue, the root of the problems, you really have no insight as to what caused you to live out a reckless life, for example, or a plethora of different things that you do when you are broken and going in all crazy directions with no direction. And you kind of bleed on people that they have no business getting bled on, because they were not the ones that cut you,
right?
You know,
right?
So it's not fair for the person that you're bringing in with all your baggage and your trauma and you're not fully healed.
Usher said it best: I don't want to pay for his mistakes. And I'm like, yeah.
Tweet.
Yo. When did Usher become like
God uses all people for the
He
kingdom.
does.
That's
Yes,
all
he
I'm
does.
saying.
Including the guy with the
Quoting you.
3-inch pride flag
Yes,
on
I
the set of The
quoted-
Chosen.
I quoted you. So now
you can quote me all you want. Listen, I tell people all the time, you can tweet me, quote me, crochet in a pillow. I don't care.
Don't at me, guys. Don't at me.
don't at me either. Please don't.
You can have me. I'm on Twitter.
Hey.
I got Twitter.
Ayo.
But yeah, so real quick on some dating tips to have a
Hey, don't do it. I'm just kidding.
successful dating Christian life, guys, because we don't want y'all to sin. We don't want you to trip up
Settle.
and compromise and overlook red flags, right? A lot.
First one. Don't overlook it.
Yeah, don't overlook them. Don't overlook them because here's the thing: there's no scarcity. The world will tell you that.
Yes.
And it'll make you act out in disparity. They're wrong. You know what I'm saying? So
can I say something real quick
one.
with that? This is crazy. So one time I went on a flight, and there was a guy that like sat next to me, and he was like this missionary. He was hot. He was all these things, and I'm like, look at God bringing my husband on the plane. This is crazy.
Hold up. I'm sorry. There's like this weird thing I talked with a couple of friends of mine where it's like something about meeting someone of the opposite sex in an airport. Like, what is with you women in this story?
First of all,
I don't
I
understand.
usually sit next to people that aren't that, so
Because
this is my
it's
one
this
example.
mentality of like you meet this person to have this thing with, and they're the same age, and just makes them 10 times hotter.
I said he was
and they
Christian.
told me that, and I was like, "Who are you people? Like, what is that? Like,
That has
what is?"
nothing to do with me. That's not me.
No, but here's the thing. I've heard it a lot.
So clearly, you had some type of dialogue with this person to
listen,
find out that he's
yeah.
a missionary.
Oh, of course, I'm on it. Okay. So, anyways,
Well,
it was crazy.
She had that desire, not that disability out of mind.
That's the thing. I'm like, this is it. Like, okay, but
Was
the
he?
point,
Did you feel pursued though?
No.
Boom! That's where it's wrong.
But
That's not
listen.
where it's meant to be.
Oh, you're so annoying. I'm just kidding. Okay,
Okay.
listen.
Go,
no,
go,
no,
go,
you're
go,
fine.
go,
You're
go,
fine.
go, go.
You're fine.
Go.
No, I'm kidding. But the point is, obviously, he's not my husband. This is 2 years ago. But in that
never
moment,
know.
I thought to God, I was thinking, oh, there's never a guy, you know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be. But I found someone that, I mean, he's not anything.
You
but
encountered someone.
I encountered someone on a flight.
Right.
That you would not, like, and how many rows are in a plane, right? Like 32,
Right.
right? And he's sitting in mine. We're both, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But think about, like, God doesn't need that kind of help from us to be like, you know, like how women would be like, well, I'll just help, you know? I've been there. I'd be like, I'll just add him. He can message me. I'll just, like, God will tell that guy to go wherever you will end up,
Right.
you know? And it's like, it's just crazy because that was my example of, I mean, God has told me plenty of times, like,
Yeah.
and this is, again, like, not to brag or anything, but one day, like, you know, I told God, I was like, there's never going to be, because, you know, we've talked about this. I don't think that many Christian guys are hot. Y'all are good looking. But anyways, I just don't think that there's that many. And
Way to insult us.
I
That's
said,
fine.
and it's kind of funny because you're tall too, but I was going to go in the height thing too. Anyways, but I was like, God, there's never going to be anyone tall enough, anyone going to be hot enough.
How tall
like,
are you again? I forget.
5'10".
She's 5'10", guys.
You're short.
So 5'10" and up.
Well,
5'10" and up is a
You're
requirement for this child right here.
5'11". Okay, anyways, is the
No, what she's saying is, I want someone 6'3".
Yeah. Seriously.
6'3" would be
Ideal,
my
right?
ideal. Would be ideal, but we don't live in.
You
ideal.
don't want anything taller.
Okay.
As someone
She said, we don't live in ideal, so
But I told
we're going to
him,
keep it pushing.
There's never going to be hot enough. They're never going to be tall enough. I'm like, he doesn't exist.
You know
For
God's
some-
laughing at you when
I
you talk to him about that,
because
by
you
the
guys
way?
are all laughing as well.
God's laughing. I'm laughing.
But that's what I mean. But I told him,
Oh, God.
but a guy that hasn't been married before or like hasn't had kids or whatever, you know, even that's like a thing. Not
Yeah.
to everybody, but to me,
I'm
that's
the
something
unicorn.
I desire, right?
I'm the unicorn, by the way.
And I told him, I said, I don't think that they would ever exist. And he said, no one would ever think you do either.
Oh, holler at your boy.
Isn't that sweet, you guys? And I was
Yes.
like, I am hot and tall.
That is
So
great.
hold on. God speaks to you about your future. The first thing is, I'm this.
That's what I said, not to brag. But I mean, all jokes aside, was the sweetest thing, right? Like
That was cute.
But that's so cute. Like, but he's like, truly, like, if someone were to sit there and be like, oh, there's not going to be this and this, but because I walked alongside with God, just like there's going to be another guy that's going to walk alongside with God, never been, through this, whatever, is that the point is that they exist.
Yeah, they do. So there's no scarce. There's abundance out there, guys.
And don't go on Christian dating apps. It's a fluke.
It is
it's
a fluke.
Trap.
And it's a trap.
As Edward Upper said, it's a trap.
To get behind their paywall.
They just want your money. They don't care about your love.
Yeah,
What God's plan for your life. They just want your money.
For sure. So yeah. Also,
we were talking about that earlier too.
Also, as far as courtship, right? As far as courting, dating, guys should be the pursuers. So guys, get your butts out of that couch.
Seriously.
Take it serious and pursue. If you find someone interesting, someone that you can have an intellectual conversation with, whatever the case may be, like get up, pursue.
Take them to Outback.
Yeah, take them to Outback.
Forget the coffee thing.
Yeah, don't do coffee.
Girls love steak.
Girls love steak. Ask this girl right here who loves steak. She loves Outback. So yeah.
Who doesn't love Outback, bro?
And I think also when you are courting and you are dating and you're in that transition where we're gonna be Facebook official, right? So when you're quote unquote Facebook official,
Never happened.
or whatever, if you guys don't have Facebook, but you know what I mean, like official, let's just call it that.
Okay.
But when you guys are official, I've had a guy not too long ago DM me and say, hey bro, I've been seeing someone. We've been official for about 4 or 5 months, and I just need to when is the timeline? When is the timeline where it's like
that's up to them though.
Yeah.
That's the first lie.
Yeah.
That's the very
so
first lie.
so I'm like, you know what? There is no there's no such thing as
Each their own.
Exactly. Like I said, bro. So to some, it may be 5 months to figure it out. It might be 8 months to figure it out that you're literally doing life with your future wife, because sometimes it takes that amount of time. Ideally, it'll take that amount of time to get to really
But
know
if the guy's
someone.
a playboy, they need to put the girl on there so then all the other girls know what's up.
True.
Sometimes it doesn't still stop women. I'm just saying.
But some people
True.
figure it out,
But
and
at least
I think
a repost.
I think time frame to figure out if you are with the right person. The time frame is really
Isn't it like psychologically they say like to get to truly know someone, it takes 2 full years or something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
they say
Like I think it's around 2 years.
However-
but again, that's not a goal. It's not someone's goal. If I do this,
But my rebuttal to that, because you said 2 years, my rebuttal to that is
I didn't say it.
no.
That
But
was
what you read or wherever you read it from, my rebuttal to that statement is, or even a stat, if it's a statistic, cool. But like my rebuttal to that is not so much time, but so much proximity. So it's proximity, like how close do you live to your boyfriend, girlfriend? Because if it's all proximity to me, because if you live 10 minutes away from your girlfriend or boyfriend, then you have more time to invest and really get to know someone. If your boyfriend lives in a different county or a different city, it's a little difficult, so it's going to take more time.
Or if you're clingy
But
like
also,
me, I'll get to
that
know
also
you
is
real quick.
intentional investment, though.
Yeah.
Like you want to have like.
But it's all proximity though, because let's say your girlfriend was in Texas and you were living here. It's going to take you
That'd be hard.
right. It'll be difficult,
That'd be
but
hard.
it'll take more time
Mm-hmm.
to
Indians
get
are
to
used to that.
really know someone. Versus if she lived.
What did you just say?
I said Indians are used to long distance, so that's like not
Yeah,
good.
she's speaking from her cultural experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
I'm
what
the
I'm-
You're
other,
like, that's
I'm the
so
other
hard, it's
Indian.
not that
I'm
hard.
the other Native American.
Right.
Yeah.
So what
Not the
happens
same.
is that versus your girlfriend living 20 minutes away from you, then me personally, I would think that time, if you're really intentional, of course, then that time frame is going to shrink a little bit. It's not going to take you 2 years to get to know someone. It's probably going to take you 8 months or maybe a year to really get to know someone, to really know their impulses, their likes and their dislikes. You know what I'm saying? Like you really have to probe someone to really get to know somebody. That if you're living within the same county, within the same city,
Yeah, their
it's
mannerisms,
all right.
everything.
It's all proximity to me.
You know what favorite food they have.
Right.
Like even little things like that.
Right, because
Yeah.
like date nights is going to become something where you're going to go locally somewhere. Oh, babe, I happen to know this restaurant that it was
Right.
recommended by a coworker of mine. Let's go there. So all these like little adventures, when it comes to proximity, are going to be more frequent because
grilled cheese.
But also, as you get older, I feel like you don't need the 2 years necessarily, right? Like you've already kind of grown into who you are, right? In a sense, you're not like ever changing.
Unless you're not healed, then we would suggest to go back to
like
step one.
But like a 22 to 24 might be a bigger change than a 35 to 37.
Right.
Just an opinion.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But I also think of the devil in that because, like, I mean, definitely me of like 2-3 years ago, right? Definitely looks at things. How old do you think I am?
27.
I'll take it. I'll take 27.
What are you, 29?
No.
What are you?
31.
What are you?
What are you? I'm a man.
I'm a man, and I'm not.
And I'm proud to say it. I'm proud to be a man.
No, but I think that's harder for dating.
I identify as a man, guys. So.
The older you get, because you're more set in your ways, you're more like unwilling to kind of change. Versus,
I think it's also part like goes back to the whole like wisdom as a Christian type of thing, where it's like, okay, there's certain, because even we were talking about this the other night, where it's like. We don't sweat the small things, like, at all. It's like, oh, like the small little things here and there. It's like that's not as big as deal to us.
You're saying as you're older.
As I'm older, because like there's certain like even 3 years ago, it's like there's certain things that like is like maybe said or done like that really in the long run have nothing.
When I was 25, all I wanted was a guy with romance. That ain't gonna cut and pay the bills now.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying?
But then of course, then you more as you get older, you more emphasize things that you know that like, okay, this is a really great quality. This is going to help us, or whatever the case may be. Of course, then you want to bring in ministry into it. That brings a whole other aspect to it. But
or job
as a whole, like we emphasize certain things more. We also don't sweat the small things because we know A, what works, B, what doesn't work, and obviously we've lived that life experience to know, okay. I know, like, if I did this again, not gonna be the same thing. But at the same time, again, I emphasize certain things a little bit more because of the past, but also because I'm most looking to the future.
But you've also lived on your own for a long time. You know, like I live in my house and I don't have to share my things. You know, like even when my brother, my brother comes, we don't share much of anything. You know, but when my niece comes and she wants my snack.
Sidebar: I want to go visit your brother. By the way. I want to go to Naples.
Anyways, my niece takes my snacks sometimes. My nephew, my whatever. And now I have to share. And I'm like, ugh. Like, I can't even think. And my mom told me, like, the first thing, like, when she got married, she was like, you have to share a space with a man. And like, that's, like, so hard. She's like, even, like, the toilet seat thing. Like, she's like, it's just going to irritate you. Like, think about, Neeza, you have lived your whole life, like, pretty much by yourself. Which is nuts, you know, but as you get older, that gets harder.
Right.
You know, so God has to do a work in me. Where
especially with toiletries. I mean, my toiletries are mine, bro.
I'm just saying. Or our hair on the floor. You know, like stuff like that's probably annoys y'all.
I don't know if that's cringe-worthy to some guys. Is that cringe-worthy?
Like hair on the floor?
Hair on the faucet?
Hair on the floor? I mean, I have a beard and it annoys me. Like, I have stuff that falls out all the time, but I also try to keep it shorter so that is less likely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys. I like a clean bathroom.
I do. That's a must.
Like kitchen.
I remember I stopped dating a girl when I stepped into her bathroom and it was a mess. I was like, what deer died in here?
Oh my gosh, what's a fun deal breaker? Like, that's like kind of stupid.
Not
like smoking like a big one, right?
Define stupid.
Like they didn't keep their kitchen clean.
That's a big one for me though.
Actually,
I'm like, here's a stupid one.
No,
you have a dirty kitchen.
That was crazy. Like, how do you pile a week's worth of dishes, bro?
Here's a dumb one. I did it. Nice.
No, seriously. Like, a pile of dishes is disgusting to me.
That is gross.
Like, why aren't you washing your dishes after you eat? Like, what are you doing?
Are you the type that does it right after you eat, or can you wait till the end of the night?
Bro, I've walked in apartments at 9:30 p.m. with dishes on the freaking sink, dirty dishes at that, and I'm like, bro, you don't have a dishwasher?
Definitely a deal breaker. Look, you see the anger.
Yeah, like my chest is puffing out, bro.
The chesticles.
The chesticles are puffing out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
okay,
that's
so that one's
yours.
yours.
That's
What's
a bit
yours, Tyler?
Oh boy, I gotta think about it.
Yeah, I have to think about
I actually do. I really do have to think about it.
Like a little silly deal breaker.
Oh my gosh! If a guy doesn't.
Oh no! Hold on. This
Oh,
is
no,
this
you got
is
it?
this
Okay,
one.
good.
This one.
I'll share my pet peeve too.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna shoot. Probably myself, but I'm also gonna. Everyone's gonna think I'm taking a shot at them. If you say the word "like" every 3 words, I cannot.
I think it's
Oh, dude, I know who you. I think I know who you're talking about.
In this conversation.
I think I know who you're talking about. They
Me?
say that all the time.
I said it.
What?
I say it.
Say what?
Like.
You don't say it all the
It's,
time.
it's okay. It's oh hey, this is like
Like-
this. No, but you see, like it gets kind of like
That
I
Wellington
just
Valley
can't,
girl?
like,
The Wellington Valley girl?
Oh my
Like,
gosh!
no,
So you're not going to date someone like that?
imagine.
Heck no.
He's already taken, guys.
I wasn't putting anyone's business out there.
I've been put out my business out there.
It's I don't exactly keep it a secret,
Yeah,
Okay.
me neither.
People are secretive.
but I also don't
Imagine.
like throw it out there because it's like
Oh, you know
the
what?
important people know.
You know what my pet peeve was
Yeah.
when I was in the dating scene? If I'm out in a date, right, and we're meeting for the first time for lunch or dinner, and you're sitting like this, I'm gonna put the mic down.
On your phone.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's
But
a bit.
that's a big one.
How
though.
engaged
That's not
are
a
you?
stupid one.
That
Like
some-
I don't
but-
think
but-
you're dumb for that.
But some people don't think it's a big deal
okay, that's
because
true.
we live in the society
I
that we
hate
live
that.
in is
for
like
dinner especially.
like-
no.
I could
But I'm
understand.
always on my phone.
And
Except at
mind you, this person had a son, I think a 3-year-old son at the time.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, oh, probably checking in with the
The
babysitter.
kid, yeah.
Because
Hey, fun
No,
fact. No.
They're on
so
social
it's like,
media.
so
You're
it's like,
theatrical.
so like three, like so.
Have you
Obviously,
not watched any
obviously
other
she's not.
podcasts?
She's not texting a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, she's probably checking in with the babysitter.
Sure.
Bro, I hover over her shoulder because I went to go to the bathroom, and I look over her shoulder, and she's on effing Snapchat. And I was like, dude, that was such a turn off. By the time I got back from the bathroom, I was just like stank face, like, so what are you doing?
So
what'd you
my
eat?
dumb turn off is if the guy doesn't tip well. I hate that. And sorry if you guys do.
I
But
do.
that's my
No, I listen.
15-20% is the most.
Yeah, if you don't tip well,
Under
I'm
15%,
not gonna
you're
date you.
you're a beta.
I
I'm just
I
kidding.
tip well because it's like I've been in that situation.
I've been
so
in
that's
the
why
industry
it's
as
like,
well.
and it's, like,
Yes.
it's like if you like, I'll
She worked
give
at
you what
B-Dubs,
you were.
bro.
Oh, you worked at B-Dubs?
Hey, Olive
Wait,
Garden,
the-
Outback.
Wait, the Boynton one?
Yeah, actually.
You probably when?
2000.
Do you wait, hold up.
No, like 2015, 2016.
So wait, do you remember every
yeah.
Thursday night the Chick-fil-A crew would come?
I didn't work Thursday nights. I was a day shift
Dang.
girl.
Yeah, so every Thursday after we would close, the
'Cause it was
entire
Boneless
Chick-fil-A crew
Thursday?
would go to B-Dubs. And at one point, this at this point, I don't care if anyone finds
We're not
out.
affirming Chick-fil-A, guys.
I didn't say that.
We're not standing to what Chick-fil-A has said or spoken or.
But basically, we
No,
would
I'm just
go
kidding.
there. We traded Chick-fil-A for B-Dubs.
Oh, how funny.
It was good. It was a lot
I
of fun.
remember.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say someone I knew, and I'm like,
Well, I
been
probably
a
know
while.
a bunch of the crew there, but you know,
yeah.
that was a long
No, it
time
was
ago.
good times for sure.
They actually at one point just kept the table. It's like nope, can't sit there. That's the
That's
Chick-fil-A
one of the
crew.
easiest jobs I've ever had. Like because my personality is like, like that type. Kind
Right.
of thing. I never got along with people I worked with.
Ooh, here's a really good question. Yeah. What do you think about guys who have like really good girl friends, like friends who are just girls?
Again, you're asking the wrong person.
'Cause she
because
doesn't
I have
give.
I have a lot of guy friends. So
Okay.
I'm the one that gets.
So if you were dating
Judged
some,
on
if
that.
you were dating some guy, has a guy ever kind of like brought that up? Like, has
yeah,
had
oh
an issue
yeah,
with
all
that?
the time. They're like, it's uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah.
My phone just farted. Hold on.
Farted,
Yes,
sharted.
no. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I know who it is.
I know who it
I
is.
saw that.
Does she not know you're here?
Of course
She
Yeah,
knows.
she does.
So
She's checking in.
he's fine. Okay, but
No,
anyway.
she's
Mine's
let-
already asleep.
Mine's
she's-
on
she's
Do
letting-
Not Disturb because I was being.
I appreciate it.
very-
I should have put mine on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, you
I
should do it right
apologize.
now.
I'm over here thinking I got kids waiting for me at home. that
But yeah,
there's
no.
fires to be put out.
Yeah, I'm actually the one that gets in trouble for.
I
Have
used
it.
to get in
And
trouble
I get in trouble for like
for
being
that.
close, like
mere fact.
to my best friend Adam. Like
So do any of them have like?
Shouts to Adam. How you doing, buddy?
Shout out to Adam. But people are like, "Oh, you're never gonna find anyone because you're so close with Adam," and I'm like, "Oh." Well.
So why don't you just marry Adam?
Oh my god, we're not. Remember? Okay, hold on. Adam is a good candidate, but remember when we talked about
he's a little on the young
Christians
side, though.
that I actually don't. His young, I forget about that when we're together. We're very much like on the same page in that way. But I would say that again, 2 Christians doesn't mean that they're meant to be. It was one of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
But no, Adam's a great guy.
Another question: does your super outgoingness also create some issues sometimes?
Yep. Also, with when I'm
I think it's for everyone though, because that kind of got
when
me in
I'm
trouble
meeting my
too.
guy friends' girlfriends, like I want nothing more than to like really be their friend, but it's already like a threat.
I think also partially it's like.
Luckily, I was already friends with this one, so we're good because. I mean, I was close to both of them, but I was actually closer to him, and I've known him double the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and she could have felt uncomfortable with that, but I also think, and this is not like a diss to anyone either, but I think the more secure you are, or the more you know me, you'll be fine. I think
it's also trust. That's also like transparency.
Yeah.
Like, there is a maturity level because it's like, Navik. Me and Navik are super close. Love you, Nav. Like, we text. I don't say
Navik
on
from
the daily.
Christ Fellowship?
Navi.
Navik.
Oh, just kidding.
No, there's only one Navik.
There is only one Navik.
Yeah,
there is only one Navik.
She's black.
My skin?
Yeah, she's
yes.
black.
Yes, I love her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Navik.
Hey.
I was like, there's only one.
So I introduced them.
Former Christ Fellowship congregant.
Yeah.
So I introduced Marla and Navik the other day, and it was just like, because I told them of each other, like, so they finally met.
Yeah.
And Navik kind of yelled at me a little bit for that. Why did it take so long? But it's like, they both like knew going in. Whenever I was with the other person, they knew, like, that whole thing. There was that trust and that transparency there, and then of course when they met, like.
But people so some people would feel uncomfortable, like, oh, like my boyfriend's going, like having dinner or like lunch with Neeza. But if you know us, like, and again, I would actually not even do it. I would be really sad about it, but I wouldn't do it if Annalise wasn't okay with it, So, but she is okay with it and she's fine with it, and which I really,
because she understands like who you are,
right?
Like, because even Marla kind of she knows who I am. She's like, yeah, I know, it's just you.
Yeah.
It's just,
and I love
you,
that.
like whatever. And then of course she met Navik, and it's like she's the chick version of you.
Okay, another question is, what if me and him never had history, right? Do you think if you and Navik had some kind of history, but even though it's nothing now, do you think that would probably be a problem, right?
I don't know off the top of my head. I couldn't fully answer that for my other half.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's kind of like, because we kind of briefly talked about it, because like we haven't really talked about each other's past like in that way, because it's not like that we don't want to know. It's just like at some point it's just like kind of, it doesn't really matter too much, and it doesn't matter much anymore. Like, is there curiosity could it come up again? Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll be honest. Like, this is what
and it's also depending on the context of conversation that you're having, because if you are speaking on traumas that happened in your past, then I think that vulnerability, that transparency is essential to the growth of your relationship.
Or
because
some people just don't want to know, and I want to know everything.
Yeah,
so.
But I'm talking in the more
if you need to
know, because of
need to know basis.
Also the mental health issues,
and it goes back to also like who it's like I'll tell her.
But I think it's great to hang out with friends. Like your significant other friends should mingle with your friends, because essentially that's creating an ecosystem that is healthy for both parties. Yeah. Pro tip, guys, if you guys are dating and you've been dating for 5, 8, 9 months, even to a year or 2 years, I think it's
2 years
or two. No, but I'm saying you said 2 years for the.
I was like
your statement.
I was going to say, I was like, has time really flown by that fast? Holy crap!
No, but what your statement
I
earlier.
looked at my left hand and was like, what?
Your statement that you made earlier about what.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, their anniversary is my birthday.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's that's a pretty cool pro tip in relationships. Like, if you guys been dating for quite a while,
don't put your Cashapp out.
And you're
don't put your Cashapp or your Venmo. Don't
come
put that
to
out
my
there.
birthday and find
it's my birthday. Venmo me.
Actually, one of my friends, Jewel, she was like, I'll just try to find someone on your next birthday.
Oh my gosh.
They saw a post of them and she was like, look, they're still together. And I'm like, I know. Like, as if it was a surprise to me. But she was like, oh my gosh, they met at your birthday. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. Shout out to Adam. Adam helped with that as well. So
yeah, he had a small part in
because
that.
Evi didn't get to him.
Yeah, but
Say it again.
Nothing.
But yes,
nothing I haven't said directly to you.
Intermingle with friends. Share each other's friends. Create a nice
find
ecosystem.
out why that person is that close with the other. You know what I mean? Like if my boyfriend is best friends with the girl, like I would want to know.
But I think there's also outliers too. Like for example, I had a buddy of mine who his girlfriend at the time had a best friend that they knew since grade school. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's history behind there. They've gone through third grade and up till they graduated. That's the outlier. You know what I mean? Like there's been trials and tribulations that they experienced that you will never experience with her.
Right.
You know
but
I
think the insecurity is that at first that person knows more about your man than
and
you
by
do,
the way, men out there, be a man and get to know your girlfriend's friends. Like be intentional about getting to know your girlfriend's friends, especially the male friends. So go up and be a man. Be like, yo, what up, man? What's good? My name is what's your name? Oh, okay, cool. How did you? All right, and then just create dialogue and make it comfortable. Don't make it awkward. You know what I mean? That's the only tip that I have for that. Yeah. Not to be awkward.
My ex was not as comfortable with Adam because Adam knew me in a way that my ex didn't know yet. Right. At that time. And that's fair though. Like I'm not even mad at him for it.
But that's human nature.
But he was treating
as a
Adam
man, you're gonna feel
in a way I didn't like. You get what I mean? Like he was demeaning him.
Okay.
And Adam is of value to me. So, like those kind of things too. Like, don't dog on somebody because you know what I mean, just because of the situation.
Yeah, that's just hate. That just sounds like hate. Yeah, and then you're insecure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got, Tyler?
Wait, what were we talking about again?
Insecurity.
Listen, we do.
Being a
I was just
now.
kidding.
Oh, okay, we're at an hour.
Did
40
you check
minutes.
the camera?
Yeah,
we're good with camera.
Yeah,
right.
Hour 41 minutes. Dude, we'd be here for another 2. If I started. Now it's still good. Again, I just can't get away from. I'm not trying to be a broken record player, but it's like the maturity. It that maturity and that wisdom, where it's kind of like you should look past certain things because not that doesn't matter, but it's like, is that something that we really need to focus on?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that we really? It's like, okay, but you also need to identify yourself. Okay, what created my own insecurity? Is it that trauma? Is it that thing? Like, what makes it this thing? Mm-hmm. Not saying, oh, can they explain it away? But it's like, hey, is there like a legitimate reason? Like myself and Navik, there are legitimate reasons me and her are so close because I've known her for a long time. We've gone through a lot of things together. Like,
sure, yeah.
Ministry, there are certain things that's like, there's a reason that deep friendship is there, and that's what it is. It's a deep friendship. Like she's literally like my older sister. Like I go to her for advice. There's some, of course, you've heard us plenty of times on this podcast. Navik's like, you have a day.
Yeah.
Get your stuff together.
And you have a day.
And get more.
She gives me 5 minutes.
I know.
Like, I know what you're feeling, Javi. Give yourself 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's a real
okay.
friend. That's a real friend. Yeah. But the insecurity is like, that's not a you thing. That's kind of not to just say it.
Projecting on that.
Yeah. It's a projection. Yeah. It's a projection, and it's not you. Like, okay, maybe like certain things. It's like, oh, hey, in a relationship,
tone it down.
You want to respect certain lines in the relationship. Like, okay, if I know a person is with somebody, I'm not going to talk to that chick the same way I would, someone else. Like, would never cross. There's certain lines I would never cross.
Right.
But our personalities are like friendly. You know what I mean? So it comes off like flirty.
It comes as flirty,
but
it's not. But we know that. We know that, but not necessarily today.
But culture too, right? Like so culture will hypersexualize everything. You know what I'm saying? I remember a few years back, I used to train this girl at LA Fitness. Mm-hmm. And I used to bring her to LA Fitness all the time, and I'm known in that location because I've been going to that LA Fitness for years, so I know.
Yeah, he has.
I know people know me by face, they know me by name. Like, oh, how you doing? What's up? Yo, what up, Jim? And then those same people start seeing me and this girl come in and out of LA Fitness frequently.
Of course you're gonna think.
So I got Jimmy over here coming on the side and be like, yo, you smashing shorty? And I'm just like,
No.
Like, it's crazy how people from the outside looking in, and I'm victim at that too. Like, I'm guilty at that actually. Like, I would see certain people move, and then they're of the opposite sex. I'm like, oh, they're probably sleeping together, because I've been on that side too.
Sure.
So when it was done to me, I'm like, dang, like, that is a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's a very natural thing. It's like
culture hypersexualizes everything,
but
though.
Also, Christians,
but the same,
do too. That
even outside of like the whole like you guys smashing type of thing, it's like, okay, like conventional wisdom, if you will, says if you see a guy and a girl together consistently, they're either like really good friends or they are together. Like, and I think most people play it safe and they automatically assume, hey, you guys are together, right? Yeah. Navik and I used to get it all the time, like, oh, you guys, like, no, like, it's not making fun of each other, but it's like, no, like, that's not. One time I had we were at the place that we always hang out with. Someone really asked, oh, is that your wife? I'm like, no, she's just a friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's just a
me
friend
and
of mine.
Javi never got that, which is great. But then me and my other friend Winston got that, and Winston's gay, so that was always really funny. They'd be like, "Hey, oh my god!" And I was like, actually, quite the opposite.
You see,
So it's just. It is what it is, but I think for me especially, I actually wish I could get along with women a lot more.
Women are naturally catty.
Why do you feel like you can't get along with women?
My sarcasm is huge.
And some women, and I could be wrong.
Guys love it.
They're catty.
Of course, guys love it.
I've been told by friends of mine, and even my cousins who are female. They say, "Oh, it's just that some women are catty. They're territorial. They're petty." And it's just harder.
For sure.
And it's better to navigate through a conversation when you're dealing with a guy for women.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's why you have more guy friends than you do.
Like, if I make fun of you.
But is it safe to say that you have more guy friends than you do have girl friends? And that's the reason why, maybe. Yeah. Well, that they're easier to talk to. They're not as catty. They're not as petty.
They don't take things as personally. I would say.
Pettiness.
That's true. Us guys can insult each other.
Yes. So if I'm roasting you, I actually like you. If I'm not talking to you, I actually don't. But the way things come across, it can come abrasive. It can come like, dang, like, man, she's really trying me right now. Bro? Yeah, like, who does she think she is? But I'm like, la la la, like, I just said it, and I'm like moving on. Right. I didn't mean it that way. The amount of apologies of my life where I had to be like, I did not mean that. Like, I'm so sorry. But I'm also, strong personality.
But that also goes back to like getting to know someone, because like even like when I first met Marco, and then he introduced me to Olivia, like I said something that kind of took her off kind of guard a little bit. She's like, oh, like, what? But then like Marco's like, oh no, that's just him.
Yeah, right.
And then like it took her 2 more times to meet me, and she's like, oh my gosh, like it's him, I love it. Yes, like, it's that whole like getting.
But that would take maturity for someone to even be willing to be like, you know what, they're probably not what I just thought. Right. They were. But that's again, awesome. There's not that much maturity left.
But to wrap this talk up.
Do we really have to wrap it up? I mean, we're
only. What do you like better?
Almost 2 hours.
I love your
So to wrap it up, right, real quick, only because you're the only girl here.
Okay.
Oh boy.
You mentioned early on in our conversation about you having conversations with the Lord, and you hearing the voice of God, maybe not audibly, but spiritually, the spiritual voice of the Lord that and that you have a relationship with. When it comes to your journey in your singleness, and for the viewer or the listener that heard you speak those words, and they're asking and wondering, how did you get to that place where you can seek wisdom and refuge in the Lord when it comes to an uncharted, sometimes scary, arena that is called a dating pool? Like, what would you let that viewer, listener, like, what would you tell them to encourage them and not get discouraged when it comes to living in their singleness? Because a lot of people struggle, as I struggled with my singleness at one point in my life.
Sure.
Like, how would you encourage someone to stay on track and stay focused and stay pure?
So I know this sounds like cliche, but God really cares about your character and heart.
Well, that's good.
And on this journey of 10 years, being single or whatever it was, when I thought I was supposed to marry and all that, who I was 10 years ago, not a chance. Like, what wife I would have been, like what mother I could have been, no chance. Like,
so good.
And he care so much more than that, than like marriage, you know? Like marriage isn't even like in the Bible that many times. It's not the end all be all, you know? And like, yes, marriage is important, love is important, all these things. But if it was that much more, we make it way more than what it is.
100%
and we do. And character in there is more of like, let's clean out your heart. Like, this is dirty. Like, these are filthy rags. Like, you know, whatever it is. And so for me and for, you know, those that are waiting, like, he's working on our character, you know? Like, how can he cares about us so much to put us in a better situation than we would put in ourselves, right? So, like, who I'm going to be as a wife starting on my day one versus his day one, completely different.
Wow.
And I'd wait for that.
That's so good. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Tyler? Any encouraging words to the men out there that need to get off their butts and do something about their lives? Just kidding. Just anything encouraging that you would like the viewer and listener who identifies as a man.
Well, let's not.
It's a joke. But to all those kingdom men out there.
To all the kingdom men. To all the kingdom men out there. When you have the Father in his rightful place, everything falls in order. And I kind of said a lot of things very, very similarly before, but I think especially tonight after the conversation we had, you know, when even if you don't have a father figure, even if you don't have some sort of image like that in your life, remember you are an imager of God. You are someone who is bearing that image, and that the Father, the Heavenly Father, is calling you in so much more. And so, don't short yourself for something that you feel like is just something that you just need to do. And that, I feel like that just kind of put it over my heart a little bit. Like, I feel like that was specifically for like one or two people. I don't know who, but you know, you want to do all these things as a man, and that, you know, it's good to have that drive. Yeah. But remember, the Father is there to help lead you, because you won't be able to do it all. Yeah. And I encourage all the men out there that, you know, Javi goes on about it. You know, get some therapy. Myself, I'm looking into it. You know, all this other stuff. Like, but don't allow yourself to think that just because you are the man, you need to do it completely wrong. Right. That is the point. Now, don't try to fill those shoes with like any old woman who comes around. You want, again, find your, like, if you're thinking marriage, that, because that's not for everybody. If you're thinking it, think about who you go to war with. Yeah. Who would you be willing to lay your life down for? If you are willing to die for that person, I'm not saying like, oh man, I go to jail for that. 100%. Yeah. Go to jail for that. Yeah. Right? But it's like, who are you willing to lay your life down for? Wow. That's good. That's awesome. Thank you, Pastor Tyler. Appreciate you. And I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the listeners and the viewers out there. Please, if you're listening to this on Spotify and Apple, please share the link. If you are tuning in on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, share. It helps with the algorithm. We love you guys. Thank you again, Tyler. No, thank you, brother. Love you, brother. Really appreciate you. Thank you, sis. I love you. Wait, can we get a group fist bump? Thanks for having me. Fist bump. And again, guys, thank you for sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. Till next time. Peace.